Hey everybody, it's me, friendly neighborhood Uncle Pete, and this is my series Nails in a Coffin, where we learn that with great kills, there must also come great nails. We're starting another big franchise this week, one that has more movies than Child's Play, Friday the 13th, and Halloween. Yep, we're going to spend the next few months with Andre Toulon, his puppets, with the Puppet Master franchise. This should be a lot of fun, covering all the kills from Blade, Torch, Six Shooter, Tunneler, Leech Woman, Pinhead, and more. And I'd argue this is probably Full Moon's most popular franchise in their library. And actually, as of recording this, I've only watched a few of these movies, so I'm looking forward to covering this franchise because most of them are going to be a first-time watch for me. If you are new to my channel, thank you for checking out this video. I really appreciate it. Welcome. What I do here on Nails in a Coffin is I perform a kill analysis on the on-screen deaths in horror movies. And I used to scale off nails in a coffin going from 1 nail to 4 nails. If the victim does something stupid, such as just standing there instead of fighting or running, or if they run upstairs instead of running outside, they're going to get 1 nail in the coffin. And so the harder the victim fights and the smarter decisions they make, they're going to get more nails because we all know more nails are always better. A 4 nail death would be when the victim fought to the last second or they sacrificed themselves to save others. They didn't go easy. So if you have any questions, please let me know in the comments down below. That should cover everything, so without wasting any more time, sit back, relax, and enjoy while we put some nails in a coffin with Full Moon's Puppet Master. The movie opens up in 1939 at Bodega Bay Inn with Andre Toulon putting the finishing touches on his newest puppet, Jester. One of his other puppets, Shredder Khan, is watching out the window, and Nazis are actually on their way to Andre to steal his secret life-giving formula. Blade, one of his puppets, probably the most popular in the franchise, was outside and he saw these Nazis arriving. He ran up to Andre's room to warn him, of his impending doom coming. Andre places Jester, Shredder Khan, Genji, and Blade in a large chest and hides the chest in a wall behind this hidden panel. Well, before the Nazis can get to Andre, he takes out a pistol and he unalives himself. It's not easy to rate a death when the victim unalives themselves, and I'm pretty selective when I rate them, but this one I'm going to rate since it's pretty inherent to the plot. I'm going to give Andre Toulon 3 nails in a coffin. I look at it this way. He was an old man and probably didn't have much of a chance fighting against these, his would-be attackers, and he knew they were going to get his formula to use it for evil. So he did the only thing he can think of, hide his puppets and unalive himself so the secrets would die with him. And this death was potentially saved the lives of others, and he kept his formula safe from the Nazis. So, given that situation, I'm comfortable with giving Andre Toulon 3 nails in the coffin. We then jump ahead 50 years, and we meet 4 psychics. Alex, Dana, Carissa, and Frank. They've all been receiving visions of themselves being killed or of someone else being killed. They all know each other, and they pretty much assess that the visions have been sent by a former colleague of theirs, Neil, and they all decide to go visit Neil at Bodega Bay Inn where he's been staying. They arrive there, and they meet his wife, Megan. A few days prior, Neil had unalived himself, and they're all having dinner together right now talking to Megan. Alex is actually telling Megan now about their psychic abilities. Carissa can touch an object and give the object's history. Dana can tell fortunes and locate things, and Alex himself has premonitions in his dreams. Neil actually had brought them all together in the past to find the secret of giving life to inanimate figures. After dinner, everybody retires to their rooms. Meanwhile, Pinhead climbs out of Neil's coffin that he was laying in. Okay, we're at our next kill in the movie. Teresa, the housekeeper, was tending to the fireplace in one of the rooms, and she places a fire poker down on the floor. Then she hears the keys on the piano. She goes to check to see if someone's there. She sees nothing and goes back to the fire, and there's the piano sound again. It sounds like a cat walked on the keys. So she doesn't find anything, and she closes the keyboard cover on the piano. She goes back to the fireplace, and she goes to pick up the poker, but it's missing. It's not there. She's looking around for it, and she turns around to see Pinhead standing there holding the fire poker over his head, and he brings it down on the top of her head, killing her. I'm going to give Teresa 1 nail in the coffin. She turned around and saw Pinhead, but never moved or even reacted. When she was struck on the head, she never put her arms up or tried to block it or deflect it. It's like she had no reflexes at all. She saw a puppet that was alive holding a metal rod over his head, and she didn't do anything but freeze and just sit there, didn't have any type of reaction. She was bopped on the head, never put her arms up or anything. So when you don't even move or try, you're always going to get one nail in the coffin. Moving on, Carissa and Frank were having happy time with each other while Tunneler and Leech Woman snuck into their room. Carissa stops in mid coitus because she heard something in the room. Frank is blindfolded and tied to the bed, and Carissa, she hears something. She's looking under the bed to see what made the noise. She doesn't see anything. She looks up, tells Frank to be quiet because she's looking. She sticks her head underneath the bed again. There's Tunneler. The drill starts spinning on his head, and he runs at her and kills her, drilling her in the face. Carissa was drilled. Now she's getting nailed, and I'm giving her one nail in the coffin. She saw a puppet with a drill on his head under her bed. The drill is spinning, and she didn't do anything. She didn't move her head, stand up, put her arm out, or anything. She just stayed there as this moving puppet ran at her with a drill on his head. She probably knew it wasn't a toy since she had a look of fear on her face when she first saw him. She didn't even scream or gasp or do anything, so she didn't move or do anything. This is another easy one for me. You made it too easy to get killed. Carissa, one nail in the coffin. Her bed buddy, Frank, dies next. He still has his blindfold on and he's tied to the bed, and Carissa didn't really scream or do anything, so he has no clue what happened. Leech Woman climbs on top of the bed and she starts to kiss his chest, and he thinks it's Carissa. And we're going to get back to that. Leech Woman actually starts to vomit up leeches on Frank's chest. It starts to hurt and he starts to struggle, and he's able to get his blindfold off enough for him to see Leech Woman puking up leeches on top of his chest. He screams and then the screen cuts away, and I'm imagining he just died from his blood being drained by the leeches. Frank, he earned himself one nail in the coffin. Granted, he was tied up and blindfolded, but I don't understand how he thought a wooden puppet was Carissa kissing him on the chest. I didn't see if his legs were tied up, but I also didn't see him struggle to try and get untied when he saw what Leech Woman was doing to him. It would have taken a while for the leeches to suck him dry, but even with his arms tied, he didn't try and pull himself free or scream for help or kick or do anything. It was really too easy to kill him, and that's going to lead to him getting one nail in the coffin. Dana was in her room, and somehow Neil's body made it from the coffin to a chair in her room, but she really didn't even seem too bothered by it. But what Dana didn't know was that Pinhead was in her room also. While she was at the foot of her bed, looking in her luggage, Pinhead ran up behind her, grabbed her leg, and tossed her on the bed, injuring one of her legs. She's laying on the floor. He goes over, and they're struggling back and forth. He punches her a few times, but she's able to pick him up and throw him across the room. So Dana goes to the door. She crawls out. She's crawling down the hallway to make it to the elevator. Pinhead follows her. He's punching her again, but she picks him up and throws him over the balcony to the floor below. She's trying to get in the elevator, but Blade shows up. She's actually able to kick him away, fight him off, and she takes the elevator downstairs. When she gets downstairs, there's Pinhead at the door, but Blade opened the hatch on top of the elevator, and he dropped down. He was able to slash her throat, killing her pretty easy. Dana, she earned herself 2 nails in the coffin, and I'm only going to give her that extra nail is because she at least tried to fight Pinhead and throw him across the room. You know, when Pinhead was punching her, I think she forgot she had arms to try and deflect it or do something. And when Blade dropped down in front of her from the top of the elevator, again, she forgot she had arms. It was really too easy for Blade to slash her across the throat. She did throw Pinhead as you would do, but also she didn't yell or do anything. So I think I'm being a little bit generous giving her that extra nail. But when I'm comparing her to some of the other deaths in this movie, at least she tried something by throwing Pinhead. She could have done a lot more and earned more nails, but she did the bare minimum, and she barely just squeaked out earning 2 nails in the coffin. Not a lot of deaths in this first film in the franchise, and we're at our final death in Puppet Master. Alex and Megan are the only ones left at the inn, and they actually find Neil alive. Now, he did kill himself, but he did use the techniques from the original Puppet Master, Andre Toulon, to bring himself back to life. He has the bodies of Dana, Carissa, and Frank all propped up at the dinner table. And then he's delivering a bunch of exposition, and then he picks up the jester puppet, throws it on a chair. Of course, this does not make Pinhead, Blade, and Tunneler happy. Neil then tells Megan that he experimented on her parents, and it killed them. But he says it was necessary to learn Toulon's secret. Megan tries to hit Neil, but he catches her arm and punches her. Alex tries to get at Neil, but he also gets hit. This angers the puppets even more, and while Neil is punching Alex, Megan smashes a vase on his head, knocking him out for a moment. Then she helps Alex get to his feet, and they take off running. Neil catches up to them, and he and Alex continue fighting. Alex actually was able to knock Neil into the elevator cab and close the door. Neil was in there with Pinhead, and he picks up Pinhead and tosses him to the floor, and then Pinhead grabs his eggs and trips Neil. Pinhead tries to attack Neil, but Neil just grabs him and pops his head off. Tunneler was also in the elevator. He drills into Neil's leg, dropping him down to the floor. Neil tries to climb out of the top of the elevator, but there's Blade, and he cuts off Neil's fingers, sending him falling back down to the floor. Pinhead is then holding Neil's head, and Tunneler starts to drill into Neil's neck. Blade uses his hook to hold Neil's mouth open, while Leech Woman starts to vomit leeches into Neil's mouth. Pinhead then finishes him off by snapping his neck. The final death in Puppet Master was Neil, and I'm giving him, you guessed it, one nail in the coffin. He was an evil piece of crap. He knew what Toulon's formula was capable of, yet he chose to be an a-hole to the puppets. He also spent way too much time grandstanding, giving away all this exposition. He wasted time, and he had the opportunity actually to get rid of Alex and Megan, but he just wanted to gloat and everything. And when the puppets had him in the elevator, he didn't really struggle. After he fell to the floor, Pinhead was holding his head, and Blade was holding his mouth open with his hook after stabbing his hand to the floor. But he had another hand. Granted, his fingers was missing, but he still had an arm. Tunneler did hurt one of his legs, but he didn't try and kick up or thrash around or really do anything of the sort to try and defend himself and stop these puppets. Dana showed you can take the puppet and throw it across the room, but he really did. It's like he gave up moving after he fell down. He didn't have any injuries that we saw that prevented his legs and his other arms from moving. So he pretty much just laid there watching as he got killed. So it was a satisfying death because he was an evil jerk. But he is going to go with one nail in the coffin. There we go, ladies and gentlemen. Those are all my nails in the coffin for Puppet Master. Here's a summary of all the nails I've awarded. I'd figure I'd do something fun while covering this franchise, so after each film, I'm going to choose a puppet MVP. The puppet that stood out the most to just, the hero of the film per se. For this one, I'm going with Pinhead. He killed Teresa, he helped kill Dana, and he was the one who had the finishing blow to snap Neil's neck, and he had his head popped off. He got thrown across the room and thrown over the balcony. So I think Pinhead definitely deserves the MVP for this film. Let me know who you would pick as the Puppet MVP. I will see you all here next week when I cover Puppet Master 2. Thanks for checking out this video. I really appreciate it. If you haven't done so, I would really love if you hit that subscribe button. Keep me motivated to keep putting out all this content. I put a new Nails on a Coffin video out every single Friday, and the next couple months are going to be a lot of fun covering the Puppet Master franchise. So I appreciate it. If you have any comments, please let me know down below. I'd love to read them. I respond to everybody. Thanks a lot. I'll see you guys next week. Everyone, take care. Stay safe, stay happy, stay healthy. I am your friendly neighborhood Uncle Pete. And remember, with great kills, there must also come great nails.